Welcome!
Hello, everybody. We're glad you're here today. We will begin in roughly 1 minute as people trickle in.
Welcome, welcome. Up to 200 already. I know.
Still rising. Okay, well, according to my watch, it is time to begin. So I would like to officially welcome you to part 3 of Association of Educational Service District Learning Management System 101. And this is for Google Classroom. So this is your part 3 final day, and we're excited to be here with you. Once again,
today is not the last day you'll get to see us again. Please check us out in the on-demand courses that we'll be sharing with you. So although it's going to feel fast today, we don't go away.
No, we'll be here. So once again, I'm Andrew Hickman. I'm Regional Administrator of Educational Technology at Capital Region ESD. My co-host today is Christina. Christina, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad you're back here. I'm at 112 in Vancouver, Washington.
And we once again have a number of people behind the scenes that are helping us with our Q&A, which we want to remind you, the Q&A is really for questions around the topics that we're presenting today, and we'll get to those in a little bit. We do want to let you know that if there is a question that is really more of a statement or a thank you or those, we're probably just going to dismiss them. So don't have any feelings hurt or anything like that, but we're going to try to keep the Q&A available for questions that we need to answer. If a question pops up multiple times by multiple participants, our Q&A specialists that are helping us today will alert us, and we will try to answer them live as quickly as we possibly can. Your settings today, if you look on the screen, you have the option to adjust your audio settings where you can make me louder or quieter. You have the option to view the chat only. We have shut the chat feature off except for where we can post to you, which is where we're going to share the slide deck. We'll share links to the on-demand courses. We'll share other resources, etc. And don't worry, any links that are shared, Christina will be emailing out to all participants later today. So please be aware of that. You do have the raise hand feature. However, we are not monitoring the raise hand feature, so your hand will just be up waving, which I'm okay with that as well. And then of course the Q&A button. We also would like to thank that we have a closed caption today. So we have a live closed captioner, and you can turn that on by pushing the closed caption button. Now, before we begin today, I want to make sure that we address just a couple things. Let's keep the Q&A chat around the Google Classroom work. All questions around clock hours, etc., you can email later, and I'll answer them really quickly right now as well. Yes, you're getting clock hours for being here. We've already marked you as attended because you're in the seat. We do have record of your name. It does ask you to put your name in when you sign in. We're going to check that, and that's how we're marking attendance. So you don't need to fill out any forms, anything like that. Just you are here. And Christina, did I forget anything with our intro?
With that caveat, we're not giving you the claim code number. We are also not going to be able to give you clock hours for watching the recorded videos that will be posted in about an hour. We can only give you clock hours based on your time here with us live. If you don't get to everything this time, that's okay. Join us in the on-demand class. And you can get another 6 clock hours and get more support.
Yep, and we do encourage the on-demand courses, which I believe the link has now been posted in the chat, because on-demand really means that it's on your time. You can take your time through the course. It is open until October 28th, which means you could start it next week on the 25th when it opens live, and you could take your time through the modules to help you really set up your Google Classroom when you want to. And if there's any questions, you can pause the video, you can rewind the video, and you can watch it again and again if you'd like. And you'll see once again our faces a lot.
Yes, and when I send out this email, it's going to include all 3 slide decks as well. So don't worry, you will have everything from all 3 days captioned in an email this afternoon or
Okay,
this evening.
perfect. And as we begin, we want to recognize that we are once again on tribal nations of Washington State. We are using Indigenous people land, and we want to recognize the land that we are part of and respect its culture. So please take a minute to look at these slides and think about the lands that we are on. I also want to recognize the team that is available to support you at any time with your needs. So we have ESD 101 all the way through ESD 109. We have a few people with us here today live answering your questions, which is Amy as well as Darcy. So thank you both for answering our Q&A. And then Christina is my co-host. So when you get the slide decks, these links are live. If you want to click on any of them, please feel free to do so and go into their email, and you can ask for additional support if needed. Now, today we're really going to address how to look at the assessment features as well as communication as well as grading in Google Classroom. The previous 2 days, we learned about setting up from the start, adding people to your courses, the general navigation. We also talked about how to support participants in selecting resources. We looked at how to add assignments. We also looked at how to add questions. Now, we were not able to go into resources, so I said I'd add that at the beginning of today. So I'm going to share a little bit about that before moving into quiz assignment as well as grading. So here's our welcome and introduction. Once again, we're going to go into quizzes and assessments, gradebook, student-parent communication, and I added an additional resources. Now within an hour, I might be flying, which means I'll be going pretty fast. I recognize that, I do apologize, and I'll try to keep repeating and going as simple as possible so you can have every step that you need. Now, before we begin, we do want to take some quick data and see exactly where you are. So I'm going to be launching a Zoom poll for you, and this is our Zoom poll for part 3. In the poll, we're going to be asking, last night when you explored, if you were able to explore, how do you feel you did with adding content, which means adding those questions, materials, or assignments? Did you get to try it? And how well did you do? And then for today, what is the most exciting thing you're excited to learn about today? Quizzes and assessments, gradebook, or student and parent family communication? So I'm going to launch the poll. It will pop up on your screen. This is a Zoom poll, and you'll just click the response that you feel best meets your response. So here we go. And our record today was 300 responses in 30 seconds. So let's see how you do. Okay, so looking at our Zoom poll, we're over 83%, which tells me a very good number. It looks like a majority of us actually say we're getting there, which is great. That tells me you've been in, you're exploring, and you're able to try some of these resources. If you haven't had a chance yet, that's okay. Either your district maybe not have set you up yet, or you're waiting to explore with a team virtually, etc. So we'll hopefully get you there. We do have 63 people that say they're a rock star status. If you're rockstar status, my recommendation is checking in with your colleagues and being able to partner with them and help and share with them. So those are just a couple recommendations. I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you. A number of our participants today really want us to focus on some student and parent family communication, which we'll talk about. And now that's an interesting one, and I'll explain why when we get there. So we want to once again recognize that we're framing our thinking to support students. So these links have been shared with you now 3 days in a row. We highly recommend that you go into the links, look at the resources, because we know and you know that learning cannot happen until emotional needs are met or it will not happen if you're not culturally responsive. So we want to make sure that you have opportunity to dive in deeper with those and be able to support your students in the best way possible. So highly recommend looking at these links, and we will help support you there as well. So please, please, please look through these. When we get to the 201 level in the near future, we will also be bringing these up when we're planning lessons and diving deeper in exactly how to teach our students. So for today, we want to talk a little bit about assignment types and flexible thinking. And what I think of this is we have Google Classroom, which has a variety set of things that you can do. For example, Docs is easily available. We also have Forms easily available, which we will look at a little bit today. We have Slides easily available. We have Drawings. So we have some things that you can just push that create button and you can populate them right there. But there's a ton of other features that are available with Google that are directly supported and can be used in Google Classroom. So when you're thinking about educational technology and how to build appropriate assignments for your students, sometimes you need to think outside the box and really address what are they going to be learning and what is the best possible method for me to get there. How can I bring their learning home for them and also demonstrate it for me? Because that's really what we need to grade. So one of the things could be, and we'll demonstrate this briefly, maybe using Jamboard, because we got a ton of requests on, is there a whiteboard feature within Google? Well, yes, there is. And that's known as Jamboard. Now, Jamboard may be turned on or turned off by your district. It is a free resource. It is part of the Google Education Suite. However, is it on? So we'll look at that briefly. And then we want to see what students can see and what they cannot see when we turn things on and off, and how to make these accessible for them. So first off, just wanted to highlight, really need to think outside the box when we're deciding educational tools, and sometimes those become part of practice. For example, I could see Jamboard becoming part of my daily routine, because students can write on it collaboratively like a whiteboard, no matter what device they use. And we'll talk about that.
And I love the idea of you saying that daily routine, because I don't want to overwhelm my students with 75 different things. I want to find a few tools and reuse them in different ways, because we don't want to make, we heard that from our parents.
Yes, parents, students, and teachers. So don't need to grab 1,000 tools. Just pick the ones that really highlight the strengths that you need for your class. I will say that multiple times, especially after I share this next slide. So yesterday, one of our goals was to look at resources that you could possibly use with Google Classroom. And we shared those links out inside of the slide deck. However, we did not get to click on them. So I'm going to say a little statement before I go into it. I'm going to show these and I'll briefly talk about them. But really, the idea is that we wanted to give you a place to explore available additional apps and support that can really help you and your students. Now, everything that I show, I would highly recommend talking to your district administrators, the rest of your team, as well as your IT, because you need them on board if you're going to start integrating these into your classroom. For one, if you're using it in your second grade class, but nobody else is, then maybe they're missing out. Or maybe there's a better resource that everybody's agreeing to use. So when you're doing this, when you're looking at these tools, think what would be best for my team, what would be best for my students, and will my district approve it? So you need to think about all those. So here's the links that I shared out yesterday. This is also will be available for you. The first one takes you to Google for EDU, which I directed you, even though they have a ton more resources on Google for EDU, I directed you just to the apps that work with Classroom Link. These are the apps that Google has verified have seamless integration, which means you can easily put them in. They even tell you how to put them in. So all of the features here, all the apps are here. You'll notice I could sort by category. There's a few I personally like to use, and I have used, and so we can look through those. But there are a ton. For example, I know a lot of teachers like BrainPop. Well, BrainPop is one that can directly go in. There's one that empowers students to design their own media-rich projects with a creation and presentation tool. There's Explain Everything. There's Edpuzzle, which allows you to make video lessons with voiceovers. I'm going to click STEM because that was my area of focus and just talk about a few of these. So I really appreciate PBS being available as one that can integrate directly. And they actually finally removed the one I was hoping to show. They said it was going away, and they did. There will be also things like Maker's Empire 3D, which lets them design and 3D print things that they make. There are language arts tools available. For example, readers could be available here, or a fluency tutor. I really, really like Flat, especially for music teachers, which inspires students to compose their own music. So they can actually put sheet music into Google Classroom. They could write, listen, compose online. So when you go to this link, once again, I'm not going to demo this. Don't have time for that. But when you go here, my encouragement is for you to look at what's available, see if there's something you want to bring up to your team, because we know these seamlessly integrate. I, for one, for example, am a Soundtrap user. I make music all the time using Soundtrap. Well, you can directly put them in to Google Classroom as well. So please, please, please look at these with your team, explore the apps. This site will also take you to another place available that says training resources. And you'll notice there are other resources available that you can use within Google Classroom as content with your students as well. So these are content resources. The other resources were apps that worked within Google Classroom. So that's all I wanted to say about that, to encourage you to explore, talk with your team, see what's available. There are a ton of them that you can use. And I'm sure I've just made the Q&A blow up, so I apologize for that. The other resources we wanted to highlight and just make sure you know are available. The OER Commons. This is Washington's OER Commons, which means we made it. Teachers across the state made it. In Washington OER Commons, there are resources to help you with content. For example, if I scroll down at the bottom, they created a continuous learning collection where you can grab different topics at all grade levels from different content areas. And these are ones that are developed to help you with continuous learning at home and distance learning.
And we had a question in the Q&A about language pieces, and I saw a tile there. There's a tile about world languages. If you're looking for resources for Spanish or other things, it might be in there.
There we go. So there's just 3 here. So these were created by educators that were shared open source, so you could then take them and use them. And these are educators from Washington.
Wonderful.
More keep getting added as well. The C-STEP project we wanted to highlight and give a shout out to. They are providing a help desk. So if you need additional support or resources, they have a help desk that's available for you. And we do know some of the teachers across the state that are part of this. And so if you need additional support or help, you can feel free to go to their page and look at what they have available as well. Google Classroom also provides training and support through their pages. So we wanted to provide this to you for additional resources for help. Apps that you know will work, and content, more content and support, and then training and support. So help here with the technical. So please be aware that these are available for you. Now, with that, we're going to go back into this, and we're going to really start focusing on quizzes, assessment, gradebook, parent and community. Anything from the Q&A I need to answer before I go there?
We just want to point out the resources are in slide deck 2. Andrew moved them over to his present because he didn't get a chance to cover them yesterday. So if you're looking for these, they're in slide deck 2. Also remember, I'm sending you an email with all of the resources for the last 3 days. So you're going to get it. I promise.
Okay. So I'm logged in as Jeffrey, and this is now Jeffrey's view. So I wanted to just show this just so you can see what it looks like. You'll notice here that I now have 3 cards, and we're really going to demonstrate and focus on student and teacher view today. So right now I'm in both because this is my teacher view card and these are my student views. I'm in Catherine's Welcome to Google Classroom class. It tells me here I have things due tomorrow, which is a great feature. It's right on the front page. I can see what's due. Same thing with mine. I can see what's due here. Okay, but for us today, I really wanted to focus on starting with quiz assignment as well as adding assignments to get more grades or feedback. So I'm going to go to my teacher one.
Yeah, and in this view, he's seeing student view because he's enrolled in another teacher's class. So he's not seeing a fake student like we've been showing. It's him. He's enrolled in somebody else's class. So as teachers, you can run a class and you can join a class as a student.
So I left this exactly where we left off yesterday. There's no new information yet because I wanted to build that with you. Now, how do I build that with you? Well, we're going to start with quiz assignment. We'll get back to adding an additional assignment to feature Jamboard in a little bit, but I want to start with quiz assignment. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my classwork tab, and we're now going to look at week 1, where I want to add a quiz assignment. So the same thing we did yesterday. I'm going to push create. And when I scroll down, you'll notice I have the option for quiz assignment, which is the one we didn't get to yesterday. So I click quiz assignment, and here's what happens. You'll notice this looks exactly the same as my assignment looked. We once again can add title. I once again can add instructions. Yes, I can add video instructions. Yes, I can add audio instructions. I could add pictures. I could add anything I want as instructions here. So for my title with this one, I'm going to just say Math Quiz 1. There we go. Math Quiz 1. And in my instructions, I'm going to say take the following quiz. Now, one thing you will notice is it automatically put for me in here a blank quiz because the quiz feature, the quiz assignment feature, automatically ties it to Google Forms. And I'm going to just highlight this is not a Google Forms training. That's an entirely different thing all on its own because there are so many things to do in Google Forms. So I will do a very surface level show of Google Forms just to make a quiz really quick so my student can take it. So you can see the grading feature. But this is Google Forms. You'll notice the next 2 things. Number 1, grade importing. And it tells me right here what that means. Classroom can import grades for assignments. Grade importing automatically limits each form to 1 response per user. So normally if I just create a form and I turn it into a quiz outside of this for my students, I have to manually pick how many attempts they can do, how many of their responses they can try. And when I mean responses, that means filling out the entire form and submitting. The next feature that it shows here is lock mode. So with this form that they've added for me, it has a lock mode on Chromebooks. And what that does is it makes students so they are locked in to take that quiz. And I've heard a lot of different opinions on if that's good, that's bad, what is it? Now,
and it doesn't work on mobile devices. So iPads and cell phones, this will not help you. So you have to think, are all my students using the same device?
And you also got to remember with remote learning, are all students taking this at the same time? So
we can't control how many devices they have at home. So the lock mode just doesn't feel like a distance learning solution. I know that I'm seeing some people up there. Can you just address the audio and video you said in the instructions? That can't be done right inside this instructions, right? I have to do that outside.
Correct. So you'll notice here where it says add, I can add a link or a file. So if I built an audio, or maybe I even did a screen capture or a screencastify and I saved it, I could upload a video here, which I actually do have some videos. Let me just see if I can grab some. See in my drive. I'll just upload. Here's some videos here. These are way too big, so I don't want to upload them. They'll take a while. But I could pick one of my files to upload, and then it would be there for students to watch before they take the quiz. Same thing with audio. If you have an audio file, you could upload. Even the create button, I could create other things and add for them to have as a resource, but not audio or anything here. You could also have it on YouTube and just grab it from YouTube. Okay, so right here's my quiz. I will get into that in a minute, but I wanted to go over here to the right and we can talk about, once again, these settings. So how much is this quiz worth? Is it worth 100 points? Is it worth 5 points? Is it worth the number of questions that are available in the quiz? Those are decisions you get to make as an educator. What are my point systems worth? Due date and time, once again, I do recommend due date time because it puts it on their calendar. And yes, you do not have to choose midnight. You can choose 2 p.m., whatever you want, and it will save it. And where does this go? Where is this associated? Well, I said this is part of week 1, so I'm putting it under week 1. And maybe this is a preliminary quiz where I'm just getting initial feedback on my students. Here is an option to have a rubric again. Now, if you're going to use a rubric for quiz, please know that if you use multiple choice, true, false, etc., they are auto-graded in here for you if you have the right answer selected, which we'll go through in a second. So think about if you're going to use the rubric feature or not. I will show the rubric feature completely and how to use it when we add an assignment after this. So blank quiz. We're ready to go in and make adjustments.
That little box right underneath that rubric, what does that mean? I'm not sure I can see it on my screen very well.
It says check plagiarism. So with the free versions, you get about 3 of them available, and it really just lets students know if they have plagiarized or not. As a teacher, you don't get the plagiarism report. So this is for students to see if their stuff has been plagiarized. So please be aware with the free version, which most of us have, this is a limited feature. Okay. So blank quiz. Notice it takes me right into my quiz. First things first, you can give it a title. So this is my, let's just do mathematics week 1. Okay, pre-assessment. Now, with the pre-assessment, I get to decide what I want to do. Once again, I can add a description here or instructions. And it automatically sets me up with the first one as a multiple choice question. Now in Google Forms, once again, this is not a Google Form training. However, I need to add a few questions. So you just click where you think you should type. That's as simple as this goes. It tells me this is an untitled question, so I click, it pops open, I can now type. So this question, what is an addition statement? So right now I have this as multiple choice. All of these options are here available, and I could choose to use them in my questions. This could be turned into a short answer, a paragraph, check boxes, drop down, file upload. You can make them upload something, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, or mandatory date and time. So you need to decide which one of these is appropriate for your question. I will tell you that Google is a smart form, which means that if it's a certain question, for example, what is your name? It automatically changed it to short answer for me. It's a smart quiz. It even tells me question types magically updated. Once again, there is Google magic. So I'm actually going to delete this question using the trash. Now I have my question. I can add an answer. There we go. I've added 3 possible answers, and the difference with a quiz and just using a form is you have the ability to have an answer key. I've added a statement here, I've added a question, and now it's my job to decide the answer. If you want to add the answer key, I'm going to add an answer key. I'm going to say this is worth 4 points, and I'm going to say this is the correct answer. Now I'm going to stop here for a second because there's an additional button before I push done. So I pick the point value, I pick the correct statement, but there's now an additional answer. It says add answer feedback, which is where you can give your students formative feedback depending on which answer they chose. If I click this, I can write a response for incorrect answers. You'll notice I also have the option to link them to a video for incorrect answers where you can explain it, or I can link to reading or a sample of where I got it from, anything you want, or just leave feedback. And then you can also do the same thing for correct answers, where you can give formative feedback. I always recommend formative feedback because what's kind of the point if it's not informative? Which I'm not doing the best example of. There we go. If they select this one, they will get correct. If they select the other two, they'll get this feedback. In Google Forms, you can also, so I'll push done, this question's ready, I can make it required or not. And if you add different sections, you can have them go to the section based on the answer, which means you can see where their learning goes. Like we've done many, many times with a lot of different things. So I can add, go to section based on answer, I can add multiple sections, which are technically different pages. It would be another page that they go to. I could also add to help with their instructions a video. Notice I can go to YouTube and add a video. There we go. I just put a video in. You can even say it's centered. And then they would be able to watch that video after answering this, possibly in a new section. And I do want to show how easy it is to move questions around. If you're worried about organization, you just click and drag. So I'm going to say.
And with that little caveat, I have learned that do not view or create the spreadsheet of the responses until after you have organized things. If you start moving around things after you create the spreadsheet, it will mess up the spreadsheet.
So I'm now able to select what happens. So I said, go to section based on answer, and I'm able to select what happens when they have those answers. I want them to see the meaning of addition. I probably want them to go get that if they get this wrong, but if they get it right, I'm okay if they submit the form. They don't need to watch that. It really depends on you. Now, this is ready for my needs at this point. I gave it a title. Okay. There we go. And I can exit out of this. It is ready to go for my students, but I want to show what happens. So I'm back in here. The quiz is done. I can now push assign. And I'm going to say it's only worth 4 points because that's what I said that question was worth. And I'm
Before you, oh, you already hit it.
Sorry about that.
I could have differentiated. So where it says all students, I could have picked a few different students. So I could make this only for a select group of kids. Or if I had more than one class, we could have added it to all of our classes. You can't do differentiation and add to multiple classes though.
Yep. But you can always push edit and come back in. But if you've already assigned it, you cannot then assign it to multiple classes. So think about where it's going before you do it. But I could turn this off for certain students. Now, I've assigned it to myself with my other account. I'm going to actually go show what this does. And let's see if we see something wrong. So here's Andrew. I'm in my account now. I'm going into Jeffrey Lebowski's class. I've now been assigned a quiz under classwork. There's my quiz. It's available. If I click this, I'm going to view assignment. I have a couple options. Number one, the quiz is here. I can go in and take the quiz, right? We'll try that in a second. But a lot of you mentioned yesterday that sometimes students just send back blank work. Well, here's why. You'll notice over here on the right, it gives me a couple options. Number one, I can add or create, which means I can add additional resources as a student to put in here. Or I can mark as done. If I mark as done before I take this quiz, it will come back blank.
And it will show up in the parent summary as I've done it.
Yep. So please be aware if it comes back blank, you might have to send private comments or messages or emails. And they're going to get asked, is there a way to turn that off? There is not. So it just takes one of those. We really have to work with our students as well as parents to train on how to do some of these things. Because
there's no way to disable that feature. We cannot stop that from happening. You're just going to have to do constant reminders and reteaching.
Consistency, consistency, consistency. Now, when I click Google Forms, now let's talk about what just happened. Remember yesterday we talked about how forms, and actually anything in Google, especially in Google Classroom, you have to have access and have to have your school email. Well, my personal email for my work is different than ESD 112, so they were not right because I added the student incorrectly using the wrong email. So this is why it's important to enroll students not in a personal Google Classroom, but your school Google Classroom with their school email, or you'll get a lot of the request access options. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and see if it lets me adapt as Jeffrey. So I'm now the teacher. I'll push the pencil to edit and see if it lets me unrestrict to ESD 112. It looks like it will. There we go. I've unrestricted.
And you have to hit save. Not very many places in Google do you have to hit save, but there are a few because I don't think you hit save.
I did.
Oh, it's just being grumpy.
Oh. But will it give me access is the question.
Yeah.
It's unrestricted. It did not. Doesn't like me. It's okay. Well, the nice thing about it is it demonstrates exactly what could happen if your students do not. But I am going to mark as done just to show what happens on this end. I marked as done. I'll switch back to the teacher to show the grading piece. Here we go. One student has turned it in. I could go in. It would have auto-graded if I had access. And then you can give a grade. So I can say I got that one right, give 4, push return. You could also give private comments, which I will do in a minute.
Yeah, if you could put in a private comment so we can see where the students see that, that'd be great.
Yep. There we go. I've returned the work to the student as the teacher. One submission returned. Added a private comment. You'll notice down here the teacher can see his private comment. As a student, I'm switching back. I'm going to refresh. You'll notice it even highlighted for me, thank you, that I got a private comment here on my quiz, and I do have the option to resubmit if I'd like. Now, if you click the resubmit button, it would resubmit it again, even though I didn't attach anything to it.
But you as the teacher will have access to how many times it was resubmitted. I had a couple students who wanted to have Friday free time because they had to have all their work in to get that. They marked it all as done, knowing we wouldn't grade it early, and unsubmitted over the weekend. And so we will have access to that, a log that shows all of that information.
So what happens now? This has been graded, this has been returned. I'm back in my teacher account. I saw where the private capture, the private comment went, which was at the bottom, and then in the student side, it was underneath where they turned it in. So let's look at what happened with the grades. We're going to go into our grades tab, and we'll briefly look at this. Now, right here, I have just one student at this point, and I will go to one of my bigger classes in a minute to show with a lot of students what it looks like. And this is a pretty simple gradebook. So the way we like to think about this gradebook is your paper, pencil, hard copy gradebook that you're used to filling in, and you're handwriting your grades. You'll notice that Andrew got a 4 out of 4 and has submitted this assignment. I click the link at the top. It takes me as a teacher right into the assignment to view, which is because you can also grade with inside the gradebook. This was an ungraded assignment. That's why it just got a check. Means it was done. This one, however, was with 4 points. I could go back in and modify if I'd like, but I'm not. And this is how you can view grades. It will organize by the assignment when they were submitted, and it will go the newest on the left.
But it won't organize by topic.
It will or won't? What did you say? It will not. No, it's by assignment or quiz or question, whatever you had from left to right. Newest on the left.
And you might want to think about that as you build out your courses. Do I want to have different topics for different subjects? Or do I want to have different classes for different subjects? Thinking about the grade book as a class level thing and not as a topic level option.
And so now we get to have the fun conversation around grades, because as of this point, we do not have a Skyward cumulative SIS integration. And when I use the word SIS integration, that means that it will automatically transfer grades from here into my Skyward gradebook. That is not available yet. However, Google's latest announcement was they are working on multiple SIS integrations and they are in beta phase. So we are hoping that they come out relatively soonish, but have no real answer of when those will come out. They are piloting with one program, which I do not believe we use in Washington, but they do have one already up and running. And once you have one, then they continue to modify the code to work with others. So that's why we say this is really like a hard copy gradebook. So you're going to take these, think hard copy, and then manually transfer into Skyward. That's one option. The other option, which is a little more time consuming, so I don't know what you want to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But the other option is for you to export these as a comma separated value, which is a CSV file, think Excel spreadsheet, okay? You're going to, or a Google Sheet, you're going to export these, and then you have to relabel every column and row to match what Skyward or Cumulative want for you to import them. So you still have to do modifications on the export. And I want to notice that you're not going to see an export here. Even if I click the gear, it takes me to just my class settings. So how do you export these? Well, you actually have to export them inside of a single assignment. Since there's nothing here to export, you go into an assignment. I'm going to go back to my math quiz. Now you'll notice a different gear. This gear allows me to download all grades. So I'll demonstrate that one more time. I was in my gradebook. For me to export all grades that I have for all assignments, I needed to go into an individual one, then click the gear and download all as CSV. Or you could download just this assignment. So can you export, import? Yes. Is it simple? No. Can you take your gradebook and use it as a hard copy gradebook and hand type your responses into Skyward? Yes.
There are also some extensions that help you split your screen and open up Skyward automatically for you. I'm going to put that in the resource list as well. It may work for you, it may not.
Thank you. So next, so that's really the gradebook. This is kind of what it looks like. Different columns, different rows. I will show a larger class and what it looks like with more students just to demonstrate. So I'm back in my personal account, so the Andrews account. I will go into my class of 83 students. I have assigned multiple things. So I'm going to go to grades now. You'll see all 83 students available and the multiple assignments that I've done. Notice the left to right. The last thing I assigned was yesterday, which went first. Everything else that was older went to the right. It shows me who's churned things in. It shows where I need to grade. It also shows me who is who. So this is what it looks like when it gets a little bigger. It will continue to expand as more things get added and added and added. I always look at the 3 dots. So I'm going to click on these 3 dots just to demonstrate what they do. This 3 dot right here next to turned in allows me to return or view the submission from this spot. Same thing if you are grading it. Now remember, grades are not cemented until you return them to the student. So the option to return from here, if you're just mass grading, that's a good option. Up here, the 3 dots by the title allow you to edit this assignment. Okay, so if I push edit, it takes me back in, and then I'm back into the edit screen. It also allows me to delete it or return all student grades.
And gradebook isn't viewable by anybody but the teacher, right? The students don't see gradebook, parents don't see gradebook. It is like your paper copy for sure that they didn't see on your desk.
So that's the grade area, and we will pause there. Are there any additional questions before I add an assignment and show how it gets put in?
We are getting close to time, so we're going to have to be quick. There was a question about printing the grade book. Since you can download it as a CSV file, you can print it.
Yes, you can.
There was, if I have to export, can I export just one assignment or all of the assignments? Are there both options?
Both options. So if I click back on Math Quiz and I just want to export this only, when I click that gear again, you'll notice download all grades and then download these grades. That's the difference between the two. All means all, and these means just the ones in this assignment. Okay.
So
now,
yeah, let's show where students would see their grades then? If they can't see the grade book, how do they know how they did?
Okay, so I've graded that. So let me just show I've graded mine. I'm going to go back into as a student. I'm going to go to my class that I'm enrolled in here. And you'll notice I don't have a grade tab. There's no grades up here. So where do I see my grades? Well, it's under classwork. And I need to go in and actually look at what it was graded. So if I view the assignment, you'll notice I got a 4 out of 4 at the top. Shows me my grade there. The other thing I want to show you, I'm in mine as a student. The left-hand side, there is my 3 bars. And this account is a lot bigger. So this is my personal, this is Andrew's account. If I click the 3 bars, which is the main menu for all courses, there's 2 things we need to highlight in here that are highly important for you. Make it a lot simpler. Number 1, any classes that you're enrolled in, this is where you can find your to-do list. So this is an overarching to-do list of all your classes. It will show all upcoming assignments. So if I click my to-do list, it doesn't show me anything's assigned yet. We will assign something soon. It shows what I'm missing, and then it shows me what I've completed. Now look at this. I can see what I've completed here with my grades as well. So my to-do list is highly important, and it shows me my classes. The other thing I want to show here is the teacher side. So that was what I was enrolled in, but up here on the top left is the teacher ones. These are the ones I manage as an instructor. There's the to review button. When you do the to review button, it will show me everything that's ready for me to grade. So I have this one. I have 3 out of 80 turned in. I haven't graded any of those 3. This one, only one person's turned it in, but I have graded it. So this gives me a snapshot and tells me what I can do and what I should be working on if I'm working on grading. You may also organize this by class. Okay. So if I clicked on this one, and then I was able to view it by class. Next, we need to talk about parent and how to think about parent and guardian resources. So I'm going to switch back to Jeffrey. And let's talk about parent and guardian. So under people, if you have a student, you might have a button here that says invite, might have a button here that says invite guardian. Now, if you invite guardian, they will have access to guardian summaries. So guardian summaries are just a either daily or weekly summary. They get to choose which, that outlines some details. And I'll show you a sample of what that looks like in a second. If you don't have the invite button, that's possibly because your district has already set that up for you. So your district can invite guardians to your class for you. If it does say invite guardian next to the student, that means you can invite. Now, how do you turn that on? Well, it's going to be in your settings. Down here, you'll have one, and I don't show it because mine doesn't have real students, but down here, it will say guardian summaries, and you will be able to turn it on. I don't have that option to demo just because of our account type, but it will say guardian summaries on or off. Now, what does a guardian summary look like? And I believe we can post a link to help support with this as well, or I can too. So here's what it looks like. When you click on the sample, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It's going to show, this is the weekly summary view. Notice I said they could do daily or weekly. The weekly summary view shows any missing work from all of their classes, what's coming up due, as well as any class activity, and even questions or posts or announcements. So it just gives the details of the class. Notice parents have the option of changing their settings here, which is where they can change it to weekly or daily. And they can also choose to unsubscribe, which means they don't receive these anymore. I do know that guardian summaries can get very lengthy, especially if you're on a device. So please be aware of that and need to have that talk with your parents. But that is the communication that's available in here. The other thing it allows you to do is in the People tab, Talking Communication, I am allowed over here, the 3 dots, to email students. So you do have the option to email, and then the parents also get parent or guardian summaries. That's really
it has to be turned on because not all of your students have access to emails. If you're thinking about my 3rd graders, they may not have access to emails, so that might not be an option.
Correct. So that's how you would email students if it's turned on. Guardian summaries, same thing, if it's turned on. Once again, these should be discussions that you have with your team. Before we go, because we're running out of time, I did want to demonstrate just Jamboard really quick, just to show, because a lot of people ask about whiteboard questions, and it is a powerful tool. So Jamboard is one of your apps that's available if turned on. We'll see if Jeffrey has it turned on. There it is. Jamboard's available. Jamboard is a virtual whiteboard. Look at that. Here's my math Jamboard that was created for me. virtual whiteboard, you have options for pen. Notice the arrows, you can change to a few colors. Okay, I can write all over it. I can add images. I can add sticky notes, which I love the sticky note feature.
And I'm putting the resources to all of this in that email that we're going to be sending out to you. So I know we're going fast.
Yep, sticky note feature is great because you can have multiple students in the same Jamboard and they can add sticky notes to do an idea share. This is a way you can collaborate. I can keep having more blank pages, etc. The one limit is Jamboards allow up to 50 people at once. That's it. So if you're thinking all your students in one Jamboard to collect ideas and gather information, won't work. 50 students, 50 total participants. Now, Jamboards can be added to your Google Classroom by sharing it with a link. So they do have options where your Jamboards can be shared. So look at all these Jamboards. Okay, you can share them, you can download them as PDF, everything. So share with link, it is a feature that you can have. I'm going to go back to our slide deck because we're running out of time. And once again, we would hope that you have an opportunity to synthesize and apply. Don't forget, you can take the on-demand courses where we demonstrated everything we show here, plus more, with a lot more length time that you can integrate and use for yourself. Please use the smartphone to fill out this synthesized reflection. It is using a Google form, as well as you may use the link that was just posted in the chat. Christina has made a very nice email that is about to come out to you this evening around all the resources and links that we've done in the last 3 days. I want to thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you, and I'm going to give a minute for reflection on here before I go to the next slide. Christina, was there anything in the chat or the question answer I really need to get to before we go?
A lot of them are around the Jamboard, and we knew that was going to come up. So please know that we will have those available. I also wanted to give a caveat to our on-demand courses. We'll also be offering for those individuals registered office hours weekly for your personal questions that don't get answered during that session. So just know that's another option for you to get support beyond this live session.
And when we're talking office hours, here's what office hours are. Office hours are an opportunity for you to jump in with us around maybe that specific Google Classroom question and ask questions you have. They might be filled or there might be 2 people. So you'll have the opportunity to ask questions that you need for on-demand support as well. Office hours are when we will all be available across the state. Each ESD is going to be supporting those, and so each of us available to answer questions for you. So feel free to come to the office hours, jump on when you have a question, and we'll be able to get there.
And that'll all be inside the on-demand course. It's not going to be posted anywhere else.
Yep. So in the on-demand course, it's so you can get that personal touch and let us work with you. Okay. Now, the last thing we want to highlight, well, how do you get to those on-demand courses? Well, and what do we recommend after this? Please, please, please connect with your colleagues. Talk communication with your district. We know that it's limited in Google. That's one of the things we keep requesting additional support with, and more parent access, more communication. So use the little question mark button in the corner and make a suggestion. Also, please feel free to look at additional resources on the AESD website. There are a ton there, as well as access to register for the on-demand, which open on the 25th, and the 201 series, which we are developing. The 201 series will dive in deeper and richer around content and best practice and use for your learning management system, no matter what learning environment. And with that, unless there's any final questions I can answer, I'm going to wave. Okay, so it's a wave time. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here and for the last 3 days.